Welcome to the Nation of History channel. Be sure to subscribe and like so you don't miss out on more videos like this one. In the Old West of the United States, Billy the Kid became known as a controversial figure during the Lincoln County War in New Mexico between 1878 and 1881. Born Henry McCarty, he became famous for escapes, notable episodes, and popular legends. His path came to an end in 1881 at the age of 21 in a chapter that also involved Sheriff Pat Garrett. Carrie Nation became an emblematic figure of the temperance movement in the early 20th century by protesting against saloons through striking public actions, symbolizing the moral campaign against drinking. Her arrest in Kansas in 1901 reflected social tensions that influenced the approval of prohibition in 1919, deeply changing American customs. A man known as Bloody Knife served as a guide for General Custer during the Yellowstone expedition in 1873, when the United States was increasing its exploration and control of the West. This mission was crucial for mapping the region and strengthening the American military presence, reflecting expansionist advances and conflicts with indigenous peoples. The expedition led by George Crook in 1876 marked a crucial moment in the territorial expansion of the United States as Army forces moved toward the Black Hills. The so-called Hunger March exposed extreme logistical difficulties, such as transporting supplies on pack mules, reflecting the challenges faced in the context. Wyoming Territory had rustic wooden jails, reflecting the early stage of settlement in the American West. In 1893, these structures symbolized the search for order in remote regions, marking the transition from the Old West to a society more organized and regulated by the federal government. Tombstone, Arizona, stood out as a center of the silver mining boom in the 1880s, encouraging rapid urban growth. The town reflects the lifestyle of the American Old West, marked by rustic buildings and limited modernization. This boom helped drive historic episodes such as the events at the OK Corral. Fort Rawlins, located in Wyoming, represented one of the strategic military posts on the western frontier of the United States in 1877, when tensions between settlers and native peoples were still intense. These forts were essential for protecting routes and settlements, strengthening North American territorial expansion. Indigenous communities lived on reservations, such as the one located 5 miles northeast of Rancho Tejon in Kern County, California, in the late 19th century, a period marked by settler expansion and policies that displaced native peoples. These reservations limited access to land, deeply changing cultural and social traditions. Settlers in Oklahoma Territory sought land lots during the 1890s after the region was opened for settlement through the Indian Appropriations Act, which reorganized indigenous lands for American settlement. This rush contributed to rapid occupation and the formation of the future state, deeply transforming the lives of native communities. A military expedition meets members of the Ute tribe near Fort Duchesne, Utah, in 1886, during a period when the United States was trying to strengthen its control over Western territories. This contact illustrates tensions and negotiation attempts with indigenous peoples during westward expansion, which was fundamental to the formation of present-day borders. The Apache people, shown in their home setting in the late 19th century, lived in simple dwellings made from natural materials such as straw and wood, preserving their culture and traditions in the face of American expansion. This period was marked by tensions and strong cultural preservation against settlement, shaping the history of the southwestern United States. Spotted Tail was a prominent Cheyenne leader who, around 1869, played a crucial role in negotiations between indigenous tribes and the United States government. His work helped stop conflicts in the Great Plains region, offering a path toward peace treaties and recognition of indigenous rights. Cocopa indigenous people lived in the Colorado River Delta in Baja California between 1886 and 1902, a period of intense change for Native communities. Contact with settlers brought cultural and economic changes, along with pressure on their traditional ways of life as the region modernized. A young member of the Ute tribe on the Wichita Reservation in Utah symbolizes indigenous cultural persistence in the western United States. Old photographs like this record traditions maintained during the 19th century, when displacement and assimilation policies placed their identities under pressure. This continuity helped preserve native languages and customs. William A. Pinkerton led special railroad agents in the late 19th century, a period marked by railroad expansion in the United States. The work of these agents was crucial to fighting robberies and keeping the line secure, strengthening transportation and economic development at the time. That security helped make industrial and urban growth possible. Indigenous ceremonial traditions in the Greenwood region of South Dakota included elevated wooden structures, a practice documented before 1890. This technique reflected beliefs about contact with the spiritual world and symbolic preservation, showing specific rituals of native culture. A Paiute indigenous woman grinds acorns on a metate, an ancestral traditional technique that provided essential food for her community. Around the early 20th century, this way of life reflected indigenous cultural resistance to changes imposed by colonization, preserving ancient knowledge and practices. Chinese workers were essential in building the Transcontinental Railroad of the United States, completed on May 10, 1869, connecting the East Coast to the West Coast. Their low cost and dedicated labor made it possible to overcome challenges in the Sierra Nevada mountains, speeding up the country's expansion and economic unification. Prospectors in Alaska searched for gold in 1899 during the Klondike Gold Rush, a historic milestone that drew thousands of people looking for quick wealth and pushed the development and settlement of that remote and difficult region. This rush changed the local economy and population, showing the intense search for natural resources. In the late 19th century, the settlement in Dyea, Alaska, stood out as a starting point for the Klondike Gold Rush, which began in 1896. This region, dominated by steep trails, attracted adventurers in search of riches, shaping the history of settlement and exploration of the territory through the construction of rustic homes. Jason and Owen Brown worked at their mining camp in the San Bernardino Mountains, a setting typical of prospecting in the late 19th century, a time marked by the gold rush that drove the economy and migration to the western United States, strengthening regional development and the extraction of natural resources. Mining communities like Panamint City appeared in the western United States during the gold and silver rushes of the 19th century, especially in the 1870s, driving the country's territorial and economic expansion. In 1875, places like this were strategic for mineral exploration, reflecting the temporary and rough character of pioneer towns. Placerville, known as Hangtown, stood out during the California Gold Rush between 1848 and 1855, attracting thousands of people in search of riches. This rapid growth boosted the economy and strengthened the Sacramento Valley as a strategic region, influencing the expansion and settlement of the American West. The photograph captured on October 3, 1893, reveals daily life in Perry, Oklahoma Territory, shortly after the land run of 1889, when settlers competed for available areas on indigenous lands. This rapid occupation led to the rise of pioneer towns with local businesses such as the Moran Hotel and law offices. Main Street in Alene, Oklahoma Territory, around 1895, reveals daily life in a region undergoing settlement. The area was marked by hunger for land and opportunity, a result of the Homestead Act of 1862, which encouraged settlement and agricultural development. Children and a teacher pose in front of a school made of earth blocks around 1895 in Oklahoma Territory, shortly before it became a state. This simple building shows the challenges of education on the American frontier, reflecting the community effort to provide schooling in rural and isolated areas. The young daughter of a farmer in the Mesa Creek Valley, Colorado, travels to school around 1898, during a period when the expansion of public education was changing rural communities in the United States. Access to formal education represented social progress and strengthened the integration of these remote regions into modern life, which was crucial for local development. W.H. Cook ran a saloon in Augusta, Montana around 1900, a time marked by the expansion of the American West after the Civil War. These places were central points of local social and economic life, reflecting the transition from wild regions to more structured communities and shaping the culture of the Old West. The Weaver Brothers Saloon in Breckenridge, Colorado, in the 1890s, represents saloon culture in the American Old West, where men wearing vests and bowler hats socialized. These places were important social centers before the first restrictive laws on tobacco and alcohol consumption in the United States. Places such as the Saloon in Leadville, Colorado, between 1883 and 1889, appeared during the boom of mining towns in the American Old West, driven by the gold and silver rushes. This period marked fast growth and urbanization in these regions, reflecting major social and economic changes in the United States. The Hovey Dance Hall, located in Clifton, Arizona, in 1884, illustrates the social setting of the American West during railroad expansion and the development of mining towns. These wooden buildings served as centers of entertainment and social life, strengthening local culture within an economy based on mining and railroad transportation. The advance of railroads in the United States in the 1860s was crucial to the country's territorial and economic expansion, especially with the construction of the transcontinental line. The connection between East and West made the transportation of people and goods easier, driving development and national integration. The train crossing the Missouri River over ice near Bismarck in March 1879 represents advances in railroad transportation through harsh regions. This crossing supported trade and westward expansion, driving economic development and the integration of American territory in the late 19th century. The original railroad depot in Mesquite, Texas, symbolizes railroad expansion in the United States between 1880 and 1900, an important milestone for the economic and social development of the American West. This advance made it easier to move goods and people, connecting regions and driving urban growth. Wagons pulled by multiple horses provided transportation in rural areas of California, especially between 1880 and 1900. This period marked a transition in mobility before railroads became dominant and automobiles appeared, both essential to economic development and territorial expansion in the United States. Immigrants who arrived in San Angelo, Texas between 1885 and 1890 took part in an important migration flow that sped up the development of the American West. This movement was crucial to the territorial and economic expansion of the United States in the 19th century, especially through settlement and the creation of communities in areas that were then sparsely populated. The carriage heading to the mines in South Dakota reflected population mobility during the gold rush period between 1880 and 1904. This movement sped up settlement in the American West, encouraging economic development and cultural impact in regions that had once been isolated. Fred W. Loring, photographed in Prescott, Arizona in 1871, represents life in the American Old West during westward expansion. This period was marked by the growth of settlements and the use of animals such as mules for transportation, strengthening the occupation and development of the frontier region. Men work on a ranch along the Yellowstone River in Montana, a setting that marks the expansion of the American West in the 19th century. This region was transformed by pioneer settlement, establishing cattle ranching as a vital economic activity for the growth of the United States. The photograph captures the roughness of that moment. Soldiers of the 6th Cavalry trained horses at Fort Bayard, New Mexico, around 1885, a time marked by military expansion and the strengthening of territorial control in the United States after the Civil War. The training helped improve troop mobility and effectiveness in remote areas, providing security along expanding frontiers. Pawnee City, Nebraska, in 1869 reflected the growth of small frontier towns in the United States after the Civil War. Places such as meat markets and community houses were central to the local economy, supporting development and population growth in the American West. The city of Prescott, Arizona, experienced the kind of growth typical of the American West in the late 19th century, with streets such as Cortez Street becoming scenes of urban expansion driven by mining and trade. These changes strengthened Prescott as a regional center and contributed to settlement. Douglas Snyder, police chief in Tucson, Arizona, appears in an urban setting typical of the 1880s, a transition period shaped by the expansion of the American Old West. The presence of services such as a barbershop and cigar stores reflects a developing society where local authority maintained order. Wilkson, a small town in Washington state, experienced growth in the early 20th century, driven by the coal and cedar industries, which were essential for railroad expansion and construction. The Washington Hotel, around 1910, reflected the town's importance as a lodging point for workers and travelers. During the 1889 gold rush in the Dakotas, panning and washing for gold in Rockerville represented the relentless search for riches in the American West, driving migration and regional economic development at the time. Between 1887 and 1892 in South Dakota, contact between indigenous people and white officials heightened tensions after the 1887 General Allotment Act, which broke up native lands and favored settlement, drastically changing indigenous ways of life. Between 1890 and 1910, the Mescalero Apache faced strong pressure from the United States government to leave traditional lands in New Mexico, showing cultural resistance amid expansion and settlement in the American West. In 1873, amid the difficult period after the Navajo Wars, Native peoples such as the Navajo sought to rebuild communities and traditions after years of United States government forced relocation, preserving culture and identity under harsh conditions. In the late 19th century, Lyons Well became a vital stop in the Colorado Desert, where scarcity led to water being sold, reflecting the hardships faced by travelers and settlers during United States westward expansion. During General Crook's 1876 expedition to Dakota Territory, Valentine T. McGillicuddy played a key role as surgeon and surveyor at a crucial moment in the exploration of the Black Hills. a region coveted during the gold rush. During the 1876 Black Hills Gold Rush, Gayville emerged as one of the pioneer settlements in Dakota Territory, attracting miners and adventurers seeking wealth, which drove rapid regional growth and conflict with indigenous peoples. Between 1880 and 1910, cowboys gathered beside loaded wagons, represent everyday life in the American Old West, an era marked by United States territorial expansion that helped cement the cowboy myth in popular culture. The presence of horses and cattle along a river at Big Dry in northern Montana reveals the expansion of ranching on the Great Plains, a decisive factor in economic development and the transformation of the American West in the late 19th century. Around 1906, practices like hobbling were common among cowboys and rural workers in the United States, reflecting traditional horse handling methods essential for ranch and farm work during early 20th century agricultural and ranching expansion. G.L. Rule settled in the Arizona Territory in September 1893, when the region was still part of the United States territories before becoming a state in 1912. Life at that time reflected pioneer activity and westward expansion, marking the territory's transition into a more structured society. Explorers in the Sierra Nevada captured images in 1866 when photography was beginning to gain importance as a way to document American landscapes. This practice helped spark interest in environmental preservation, influencing the later creation of national parks. During the 1870s, the record of Mrs. William H. Jackson riding a pony reflects the peak of photographic expeditions in the American Old West. The photograph, taken in 1874, matches the advance of exploratory expeditions that documented vast, unexplored landscapes, promoting knowledge and United States expansion westward. The photograph of Clark's Rest in Mariposa Grove at Yosemite National Park captures the pioneering spirit of environmental conservation in the 19th century. Established in 1864, Yosemite was a landmark in the public protection of natural areas in the United States, promoting the preservation of giant sequoias and influencing the creation of the national park system. Austin, Nevada, in 1868 reflected the peak of mining towns during the silver mining cycle in the American West, which drove expansion and regional development. The rough architecture and dirt streets show the rapid and temporary formation of these communities, which were essential to supplying the economy of the time. Life on the eastern Montana frontier in the early 20th century shows rural expansion in the United States. Around 1900, homesteads like this log cabin marked agricultural consolidation, encouraging economic growth and the settlement of families in territories that had once been unexplored. The Minnetonka Hotel in Hot Springs, South Dakota, built in 1889, symbolizes the expansion of tourism tied to hot springs in the American West. This Victorian architecture with a mansard roof housed visitors interested in the therapeutic qualities of the waters, driving local economic growth and strengthening the region as a leisure and health destination. Built in the early 17th century, the San Miguel Church in Santa Fe stands out as one of the oldest Christian churches in the United States, symbolizing Spanish colonization in New Mexico and Iberian cultural influence in the region. Around 1895, the log cabin built by laymen in Yosemite Valley represents the start of permanent settlement by non-native settlers in the area, a development that would become a milestone in the making of Yosemite National Park. In 1866, Main Street in Boise, Idaho reflected the American Old West expansion period, with dirt roads and wooden buildings typical of the early development of gold rush towns. Silver mining in Colorado, especially between 1870 and 1890, drove regional economic growth by attracting workers and investors, and it also contributed to urban development around the Cheyenne Mountains during that phase of American expansion. Around 1900, individual prospectors searched for gold around Pikes Peak, a central area of the Colorado Gold Rush. This period encouraged settlement and the growth of towns in the American West, marking an important regional transformation. In 1875, gold mining at Boren's Gulch drove population and economic growth in La Plata County, Colorado, reflecting the impact of the gold rush in the American West during the 19th century. Blacksmith shops such as the one in Burlington, North Dakota in 1880 were crucial to the development of rural communities in the United States, providing tools and horseshoes essential for transportation and farming. This technical support drove frontier expansion and the consolidation of agricultural settlements. Between 1887 and 1889, Arizona was still a United States territory, a period marked by settlement and the movement of pioneer families seeking new opportunities, a process central to developing the American West and national integration. Between 1887 and 1889, Arizona was still a United States territory marked by advancing settlement and the formation of ranches like John Doyle's, reinforcing practices such as target shooting typical of rural life and Old West culture. The camp at Kingfisher on the night of April 22, 1889, marks the start of the Oklahoma Land Run, when thousands sought to claim land newly opened to settlement, deeply changing the social makeup of what was then Indian Territory. If you enjoyed this video and want to support the channel, please use the Super Thanks tool below. Your contribution helps us keep bringing you amazing historical content. Thank you so much for your support, and see you in the next video.